How about we try diet steak water?
We are lubing the slide, if you catch my drift. I shouldn't say that.
I hated that drift.
We're living in that gray, which is what I've always wanted for everyone.
Nearly 90% of healthcare spending goes to treating people who have chronic diseases. Many of these illnesses are not genetic destiny.
Today we are talking about the food pyramid, and more specifically, why the version that most of us grew up with looks nothing like the guidance we're seeing now. Back in 1992, the food pyramid told us to build our diets on grains, fewer fat, and keep protein pretty moderate. And a lot of us followed those rules for years, only to end up feeling tired, hungry, and confused about why our health wasn't improving. Fast forward to now, and what people are calling the new food pyramid isn't actually a pyramid at all. It's a shift in how we think about food. The focus has moved toward protein adequacy, whole foods, food quality, and supporting metabolism across different stages of life. In this episode, we're breaking down what actually changed, what stayed the same, and how to use this newer framework as a tool, not another rigid set of rules. This isn't about demonizing the past or chasing the next trend. It's about understanding why the advice evolved and how to apply it in a way that makes sense for real life. Let's get into it.
Hello? Okay. Just making sure you could hear me.
I am shocked. I'm not shocked. And I think before we kind of hop into all the things, like, we should acknowledge that, like, there was a little bit of, like, guidance inserted between old pyramid, new pyramid, and that was, like, the MyPlate. I feel like that was, like, during the Obama years, if I could recall correctly. I could be wrong.
I don't even know.
But I really don't feel like I didn't follow the Obama year MyPlate recommendations, I don't believe.
I don't even know what MyPlate is. Do you want to give a brief summary?
Yeah. MyPlate was introduced in 2011, which I believe was when Obama was in office.
You would believe correctly.
And the purpose of it was to encourage Americans to build healthier meals with an illustration. So it kind of like broke your plate into 5 portions. Are you recalling?
I'm recalling a smidge, but I would have thought it was like 3 portions. So what are the other 2?
So that's your protein, your grains, your fruits, your vegetables, and dairy. So it's still kind of following the old pyramid, but more of a visual to help people build their plate in a more realistic way, which I get it. I'm a visual person. I like it, but I don't feel like it translated well. No. So in between 1992 pyramid and 2025 pyramid, there was the MyPlate era, but that was replaced. It's actually crazy. I don't know why it took them so long to replace it, to be honest.
Okay. My issue comes, the verbiage around food just gets so messed up, because you got to think when they say like this amount is your protein, they're talking like a meat source or some form of protein source, but then there could be high protein in dairy products as well, but then there's fats. But then remember when we would see that little food pyramid when we were younger, and the little yellow line was like all the fats, and you're like, well, is that dairy or is that sugar? There's
no room for like gray area. It's all black and white.
Yeah, that's why I said last podcast, I like to build my plate with your protein, fats, and fiber.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that's a more accurate way to look at things. And then multiple things can be true about the same thing, but it doesn't get as confusing because it's only about 3 topics, if that makes sense. Like,
right.
Your veggies and your fruit can all fit into your fiber, but maybe there's like some beans in there or some seeds in there, whereas they would be like different categories and they're confusing. But your beans can also kind of sit in your protein, or your cheese can sit in your fat, but your cheese could also sit in your protein. Like, it's a gray area of a plate, but it's a little bit more simplified that I would rather. If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think this topic really forced both of us to look into what these are actually saying, because I feel like we've kind of figured out what works for us not following these guidelines, which probably for the better. But I think what's awesome about the new one is that it is in a version like aligned with what we've learned and what we've figured out and kind of what we've been talking about this whole time. So it's pretty cool to see that, and looking into the research more, I shared with you that PDF, and like the bottom line is like, all right, just to simplify this is what this new pyramid is saying.
Yeah.
Eat real food.
Literally.
Like that's it. Podcast over. That's what it is.
I know.
Eat real food, which is what we've been trying to teach people for how long? Like 6 months now.
Yeah. That's the basis of everything. Personally, one of my favorite things about this new food pyramid is that it's like flipped upside down. Because that's almost what it feels like they're metaphorically and symbolistically. Whoa. Was that correct?
Again, we love just making up words.
Oh, it wasn't.
I make up words. It was me. I don't know. Symbolistic? Is that the word you use? I feel like that's the word.
Symbolistically. Symbolic. It's symbolic, isn't it? Symbolistically, they're also flipping the food narrative in America on its head as well. So I think that's really fun. But they kind of kept some of the stuff in the same area from like bottom to top, but the pyramid is just flipped, which is very interesting. And we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, so let's first kind of break down what the old food pyramid was suggesting, what that guidance was, and we can kind of talk about, things that we like or dislike about it. I think the first thing that was really like, holy crap, like why was that a recommendation, was the 6 to 11 servings of grain daily. Your breads,
crazy.
Your cereal, your pasta, your rice. Like, I can't imagine. I struggle when I'm like building my plate. I'm like, okay, I got my protein. Okay, I got my fat. Like, what am I going to throw in here for a carb? I have an apple. What do I have for grains? Like, I don't. Like, I couldn't imagine that.
An apple doesn't count as a grain in their mind.
No, it's a carb.
Yeah, but it's not technically a grain. That's why this is so confusing. 6 to 11 is crazy. Everyone knows I'm like a cereal hater, except for 7 Sundays. Shout out them.
Except for 7 Sundays.
Please be our friend, 7 Sundays.
Sponsor us.
Yes, but I am a cereal hater because I think cereal is the worst thing you can start your day with. But how else are you going to get 6 to 11 servings if you're not starting your day with it? Could you imagine getting like 6 to 11 servings between lunch and dinner, or just like at dinner?
No, because that is a minimum, like unless you're having snacks, like 2 servings per meal.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound right.
Just to put into perspective, that's like twice the vegetable servings that they were telling us to get back then, and almost 3 times the fruit servings they were telling us to get back then, which is crazy. Where we've kind of talked about in the past, where a lot of your fiber is coming from your fruits and vegetables, beans and all that kind of stuff, where your whole grain doesn't really have as much.
Yeah, I can't imagine eating that way. So the next thing that that old pyramid emphasized was your low fat and your fat-free dairy, which I think we've completely flipped that. Also, protein in moderation. I think the recommendation was like 3 to 5 servings of protein daily. I feel like is a good suggestion, because typically, you have 3 meals, maybe a snack or 2. Like, it tracks. 3 to 5 servings of protein.
Yes, but in the old pyramid, your meat, poultry, fish, beans, eggs, nuts are all grouped together, whereas your milk, yogurt, and cheese are all grouped together. But both of those can be protein sources as well as fiber sources. Like your gosh, so high in fiber. Your nuts, so high in healthy fats, as well as your, do you know what I mean? Like the groupings to me do not make sense. It's very confusing. But there's between meats either, which is kind of interesting. Because different meats do different things. They're all just like, well, I don't know what I expect because they're putting meats and beans and nuts in the same category, which they're all so that's you could by my logic of doing a plate of protein, fats, and fiber, you could just have have a plate of meat, beans, and nuts, and into my logic.
Which
But
seems
to them, that's
silly.
fruit. Yeah, it's a silly plate, but like, they were just like so cut and dry, black and white, and it's never that.
No. But the thing that I find funny, and maybe they were accounting for this by saying to like have low fat and fat free dairy, is like fats and oils in moderation, use them sparingly. But like, I don't know about you. I keep thinking about this, but like 2025 for me, and I think it's because I was postpartum and I knew how important fats were for healing, for hormones, for breast milk. Like that was the year where I finally like fully was like, fats are not bad. Like I ate them up. And I think that was like, I don't know, for me, I felt like that was a very good like learning year to like stop demonizing fats, which we talk about all the time. And like to a certain extent, I feel like I did, but not fully until I was breastfeeding and postpartum and knew that that's what I needed. And honestly, I feel the best that I've ever felt.
It's very much in the verbiage again, where it's not making sense because people think the fats are making you fat, and they're really not. They're actually somewhat doing the opposite, and they do help a lot with digestion and everything. So you're not Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
We are
yeah.
lubing the slide, if you catch my drift. I shouldn't say
I
that.
hated that drift. I hated that drift, and we're gonna move past it. But definitely see the research on this came out in the 1970s, the old pyramid. I would personally love to see the research and relation between this pyramid coming out and things like colon cancer and dementia and Alzheimer's and things of that sort. Invention by the Swedish in the 1970s. The US adopted it in 1992. Sorry
Okay.
about that, everyone. But I would love to see. But you know what's interesting?
What is interesting?
The 90s is when a lot of stuff started to become highly processed, where a lot of your seed oils came into play and some of your bioengineered food all started in the 90s. Interesting.
They really focused on, and I can see that with the low fat dairy, yada, 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 is they were more focused on like your 2,000 calorie diet and calories and servings over like the actual quality of food, which I feel like this new pyramid is just like completely not focused on calories or servings.
Well, they didn't care. They didn't care who the person was at all. It was always the 2,000 calorie limit. And like, even you and I, who are similar in size, granted, I'm a little bit taller than you, we shouldn't be, our bodies don't need the same exact thing. Like, our bodies are in different stages of life as well.
Different stages, different compositions.
Yes, we get different amounts of sleep. We get different amount of exercise. As we're physically doing is different, so we should be eating different because of that.
I think what the old food pyramid didn't emphasize much at all was like metabolic health, gut health, like
Mm-hmm.
even mental health. Highly processed, high sugar foods, like they are not making us feel good at all. And we know that now.
Yeah,
But
of course.
I think what the old food pyramid did was it kind of created processed grains and whole foods as like equals, which like that could not be farther from the truth.
Yes, really hunker down on that they mention in the old food pyramid is the minimum 8 servings of water a day,
Yeah,
cups of water. Um,
glasses, which is a glass
see,
16 ounces.
no, it's 8 cups. And then they say 4 water bottles because I guess a water bottle is 16 ounces. I know, that's what I'm saying. It's cups,
It is 8 ounces.
which that's not a lot.
No, so whatever source, Harvard is what I'm looking at, and their recommendations for women 19 and older is 9 cups or 72 ounces daily. 80 ounces
Which,
if you're pregnant, 104 if you're breastfeeding, which I would beg to say you need more.
yeah. But the crazy part is people just do not drink water, which blows my mind.
The differences with the new pyramid, which I really love, and we've talked about these different things that we need to make sure we're getting, is our protein. It's protein forward. We're not demonizing protein. Steaks are not bad. We're focusing on whole foods, and we are stage aware, because if you search like new food pyramid, you're probably going to be brought to like a myplate.gov website, which is going to have a link to a PDF that breaks down all of the guidance from the secretaries, their breakdown of what this food pyramid actually means. And if you read through it, like it does give guidance on, when you're pregnant, you should be focusing on this. As you age, you should focus on this. Your metabolism health, like it's very life stage aware of where you're at. It even talks about infants and how you should feed infants and when you should give them milk, when they should be getting this, that, and the other thing. And it's just very specific. And I don't even know if that exists for the old pyramid because it was so long ago. But I like that it actually gives you guidance. Like if you Googled, like, according to the new food pyramid, how much should my 8-month-old get in water or food or nutrition, breast milk, like it's going to have guidance for you, which I think is great.
Yes. What I found so interesting, because you were just talking about the different ages, because remember when we were in on this, it classifies it as middle childhood, so that's like 5 to 10 years. We would see the pyramids, and there would be that little yellow line of like they're like, oh, that's the fats and the sugars, and that's like all the sweets, and da 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 da. This one, it literally says no amount of added sugars are recommended for children between the age of 5 and 10. None.
So what does that cut out? Your Pop Tarts, your toaster strudels, your high sugar cereals, even the Little Debbie's muffins,
Pizza rolls,
pizza rolls,
chicken fingers, probably.
Hot
There's added
Pockets.
sugars. Yes, there's added sugars in literally everything marketed towards children. And they are coming out and telling us no amount of added sugar is recommended for children within middle childhood. Which I thought that was so interesting because there was always that little yellow sliver of a line that was saying it's okay to have this. And like I said, like we say, 80-20 mindset. But unfortunately, that little yellow line has started to take over people's childhoods because they put sugar in everything now.
It's like the in moderation, but then everything has a moderate amount of sugar and that all adds up.
Exactly. Throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Same thing with adolescence, which I found really interesting is the which we kind of where the ages of puberty you should be eating differently than your childhood,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. Just with like different kind of vitamins and things like that. Um, but limiting things from 11 to 18 years old is very important to significantly limit sugary drinks, energy drinks, and avoid highly processed foods. And what do I see all of the teenagers with on TikTok?
Gatorade
Not even that.
and
Not
energy
even that.
drinks.
They're chugging these Alanis and Celsius. And I'm like, oh my gosh. The new girls that I have working at my salon, which they all have energy drinks like nobody's business.
They're probably addicting.
Oh yeah. Cause they're like a sweet treat. Like,
Like having a little sparkling water or a mocktail if you must.
see, I'm even sketchy about that. That's so interesting that you just said that because I was chatting with another one of my coworkers who she was just telling me, she's like, have you ever tried these? And it was like a Mio thing. And she's like, I just like don't like the taste of water. So she's like, I've been doing this Mio and I've been adding a little bit of cream to kind of make it like a fun drink. And I was like,
Kind of like a
um,
dirty soda vibe.
kind of like a dirty soda vibe. But I was like, you're just not really doing what you think you're doing. Because, like, the Mio had red 40 and blue 1 in it, and then had a whole bunch of added sugars. And then we're just adding cream in there, which I have no beef against cream. But at that point, we really don't need to add cream on top of junk because your gut is not in the best place to be digesting that cream because you just threw blue 1, red 40, and chemicals in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just for you to drink 1 cup of water. And then if that's 1 cup of water, you're doing that in every single cup of water throughout the day. It's just not
No.
like how.
Almost all of the clients that I've worked with when they first started with me, even, and it's funny, I can't remember if I brought this up before, but even when I've run free challenges, and one of the challenge requirements is like drinking, we'll say 60 ounces of water daily, which to you and me, not that much, but we know people aren't drinking their water. All of the feedback I've gotten was, wow, I didn't know that I felt as crappy as I did when I wasn't drinking water.
Literally that. And we've talked about it before in the podcast that sometimes hunger is actually disguised thirst.
Mm-hmm.
So having a big like sip of water or gulp of water when you're really hungry, sometimes your body doesn't know how to tell you. And
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're not someone very in touch with your body and its signals, you probably are chronically dehydrated, but
And
you
you
don't
just think that you're
know.
hungry. If you were to do anything, if I had to break down one action item for you to take today, you're listening to this and you're like, I don't drink enough water. Start drinking more water. That is the first step I would tell you to take before you think about food because there's a lot of nuance with food. So if you're like, man, I don't know where to start, drink some gosh darn water.
I know. And if you need to, put some fruit in it, put some lemon in it. It's the same thing. We're saying eat whole foods, put whole foods in it. I think it would be really silly if someone started putting like,
Don't infuse your water with steak.
yeah, like that's what I was going to say. I think that would be a little silly. But if that's what's going to make you drink water, go for it.
I'm imagining someone thoroughly enjoying some steak water and just how wrong that seems.
Listen, I would rather someone thoroughly enjoy steak water at this point than enjoy an Alani or a Dr. Pepper.
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Diet Dr. Pepper. How about we try diet steak water?
I was going to tell you when you were talking about the Mio, I had a friend when I was in the Air Force. when I was in North Carolina for my airman leadership school. And I don't know if it was just one or if there were a couple of them. They would literally just squirt Mio in their mouth. Like the energy ones, squirt it in their mouth, take a shot.
Really?
I was
Oh
like,
my
there's something wrong with
gosh.
you. I was just looking, just kind of going through that PDF a little more and looking at the pregnant women recommendations. And like, I agree, they're talking about like, there's an increase in nutrient needs, which is actually something I'm kind of working on a little fun project. I actually was approached and might start teaching some in person classes for pregnancy nutrition and whatnot. So I just started putting
Whoa.
together like a little presentation of like just general stuff to give some value, get your foot in the door of like what you should actually be eating while you're pregnant. But a lot of it is focusing on the increased nutrient need, not the increased calorie need, which I do feel can very much so align with the shift in the pyramids. So, not thinking about eating for two, but like getting the nutrients for two, eating more fruits, eating more vegetables, eating more animal meats with your B12s, your B9s, your all of the things. So focusing on your iron, your folate, your choline, your iodine, like there's a slew. I want to say there's like 13 or more vitamins and minerals that we need to be focusing on when we're pregnant. And that goes for your nutrition, especially focusing on like your nutrient rich foods, your iron rich meats, your folate rich greens and legumes, and your choline in your eggs, and calcium and dairy. And like, I never realized how important those things were until I started learning about pregnancy nutrition. And the one recommendation that they give is that women should talk to their healthcare professional about taking a daily prenatal vitamin. And I don't know what they're being taught. I don't know what the OB/GYNs are being taught, the midwives are being taught. But I don't think that your OBs, whoever, actually give a shiz about what prenatal you're taking for your body. Because never once did they, like they asked me what one I was taking, but never did they ever sit down and compare what my body needed and what the prenatal I was taking was giving me. They never looked at like, oh, is she getting too much of this or too little of that? Does she need more iron? Does she need more of this? Does she need more of that? They never looked. They didn't really care. They were like, oh, you're taking a prenatal? Check. Next. Like I think that there is a great need and everyone should, if they want to, you know, go to the medical system for your pregnancies, whatever, if that's what you want to do. But I don't think it's a necessity. And I think the government and just like society has pushed you to think that you need to. That being said, like if I have another kid, when I have another kid, I'll probably go to the hospital again. But I'm educated enough to know where the gaps are and what's not helpful, which I don't think many people educate themselves to do. So,
Yes. Because I think where that comes to be a big issue is you hear the phrase eating for two so often, but that's almost used 9 out of 10 times as an excuse. And then when you're eating for two in the American standard diet, you're just putting double the processed junk in, or you can justify having more of that pizza or more of that ice cream or anything like that because you're like, I'm eating for two. And you have to come down to it and think you're technically eating for yourself, and the something that stomach is like literally the size of a peanut.
correct. Like, it blows my mind. They tell you, like, when your newborn is born, their stomach is the size of a blueberry. 5 drops of colostrum will fill their stomach. It's wild.
Exactly.
So you're
So you
not
want to,
eating for two. You're eating for your body that's growing another human.
yes, exactly that. But you want to make sure you're putting the nutrition into it to successfully and safely grow that human. I think it's very interesting how they even touched on that in general, because obviously that's not touched on within the old pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
They also touch on mothers lactating and like nursing and older adults, because what we often forget as well is that as you get to be an older adult, you don't need as many calories. You
Mm-hmm.
need different nutrients, but your body's not growing and coming to its peak. It's more on its decline. So you need to be focusing more on nutrients rather than calories and protein and all that kind of jazz, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And they speak about that, which is interesting. I feel like no one talks about that.
Right. And I would be curious to see, like, in the future, once more people are following this guidance, and who knows, like, maybe it'll fall on deaf ears like the last one did. But I would love to see more research on the people that are following these guidelines and how their bodies age and kind
Mm-hmm.
of what that will drive for the next set of recommendations. Because, like, looking at it, there's probably a quarter, maybe to a third of a page on pregnant women and lactating women. And, like, it does tell you what to eat, but there's still a lot of, like, in the pregnancy world outside of this food pyramid talk, there's a lot more on what you shouldn't eat versus what you should. And, like, even a third of a page for a pregnant or a lactating woman, like, that's not a lot of guidance. It's not telling you how much more choline you need, how much more calcium you need. It's just saying there's an increased need. Eat more food. Very vague.
I want to talk just a smidge about what the pyramid looks like itself. Because in the old pyramid, we have to remember it was broken up into dairy, fruits, vegetables, proteins, and then grains, and then fats.
Mm-hmm.
This, it's kind of more simple with more gray area. And what I like about it as well is they're not completely in separate categories. They kind of
Right.
all mesh together. So what it's broken up into is protein, dairy, and healthy fats is all kind of one category. And then it's vegetables and fruit are one category. And then it's whole grains are one category. Now, like I said, when you look at the new food pyramid, it's not like this is whole grains. There's a line in between. They do not cross. It's a jumbled mess of food that shows these can cross in between each other and it is okay. You should just be implementing these in some way or another, which
Mm-hmm.
I personally love.
And what I love is that they're not telling you that you need a certain amount of servings every day.
They touch on it just a smidge. Like they say, like whole grains serving goal is 2 to 4 servings per day, adjusting as needed based on your individual caloric requirements.
Mm-hmm.
But prioritize fiber rich whole grains. Fiber rich. Please. It is the year of fiber and fats. Let's go to healthy fats. Some vegetables, it gives servings for the whole grain. It doesn't really give a serving for the healthy fats, and it does give somewhat of a serving ish for the protein, but it goes off of your own personal body weight,
Mm-hmm.
which is also so great because everyone is so different. And the fats, it doesn't really give anything. It just says when cooking, try to switch over to olive oil, butter, beef tallow, which were demonized in 1992 when they were in the yellow, skinny yellow line category.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're saying, no, you should be using those.
But
They're a key part of it.
I also think, and this is something that we had talked about before, kind of as you were making your health shifts, is with the fats, eating more cheese, eating more like butter on things, like they're more filling and you have less of them. So your portion sizes look a lot smaller versus like the standard American diet and plate where it's just like highly processed everything, empty calories, like not very filling. So I think, and that's something it seems like this new guidance and recommendation is giving is like smaller portions, eating your proteins, eating your fiber, and eating your fats, which is
Yes,
exactly what we're trying to say here.
absolutely. And for reference, since we are kind of talking about the serving size, um, the dairy, they say to include 3 servings of dairy per day, and then adjusting as needed for caloric requirements. And then for vegetables, they say 3 servings per day. Fruits, they say 2 servings per day. But they acknowledge that vegetable and fruits are somewhat one and the same. I'm sure they only say fruits 2 servings per day because of the blood sugar spike and the natural sugar intake of a fruit versus a vegetable. But they acknowledge that that's more of your fiber source within your meals.
Yeah, I'll say
And
I'm not
what?
having enough dairy.
Oh, I'm having
Or maybe I
the
am.
dairy. Cheese? You're not having cheese?
I eat cheese for lunch most days. But
I
that's
I have dairy actually at every meal, I can confidently say, because a lot of times my snacks and or something in my meal, I think I have a cheese addiction, unfortunately.
it's addicting.
But I get really good cheese, so that's okay. I eat either Parmesan cheese, which we've established Parmesan cheese is the protein bar of 2026, or I eat 100% grass-fed cheese, which has like my no additives. But we've talked about how I eat my cheese with my fiber source or my fruits so that I don't get that high spike in blood sugar. It kind of brings it back down because it's a glorious, healthy fat. It just adds so much to your life.
Yeah.
I'm here to personally tell you it's okay to eat your cheese.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a balance. How are you not getting your dairy in? Let's discuss some ways that we could help that, which that might in turn help other people.
So maybe I am and I'm just not realizing it. So when I cook my eggs, typically when I cook them, I'll cook with butter. So if that counts as dairy, which like it is dairy, but I wouldn't count it as dairy.
It's it's a derivative of dairy.
It's a gray dairy
It's a gray dairy
because a vegan
because
wouldn't eat it.
but dairy is like kind of within the realm of healthy fats anyways.
Yeah.
So, let's just say dairy as a whole is like healthy fat territory. So it fits into that.
So we start with that. When I drink my coffee, I put a little heavy whipping cream in it. But then lunch will say cheese. Dinner, I really don't. I mean, I guess that's 3.
Oh my God, start putting cheese on every single dinner. That's my issue.
Did I tell you I got block cheese so I could grate it myself?
Amazing.
Yes, because I got my part of being an adult for Christmas. And I feel like we should have had an episode on this, but we didn't. Like talking about what we got for Christmas. Maybe we can talk about it next time. But as an adult on my Amazon Christmas wish list, I wanted a rotary like grater. I'm excited to use it. I still haven't used it, but I do have the cheese.
And say it's really great. I highly recommend to everyone. That's an easy kitchen swap for in the future.
My thought process was like, it was maybe $10 more for a rotary one. Like, you might as well go for it.
It seems like you're getting dairy. You're definitely getting healthy fats
Yes.
within your day, which that's pretty much mostly what they're saying to get. It's just a gray area. I think we should attach the link to the PDF that we're looking at in the show notes
For sure.
so everyone can really see what we're talking about. Because, like I said, the old one is very structured, very black and white. This one is just saying these are the things you need. Get them in as you see fit, and they are also interchangeable, which I love.
Okay, so let's kind of recap what the key differences are from the 1992 pyramid to the 2025 pyramid. And I would say, first off, kind of using that visual of the original pyramid, which was a right side up pyramid. And they used the base as like what your diet should be most made of, which was those grains. So that was like the foundation, is what we're going to call it. So, foundation of the 1992, grains. Make sure you're eating your grains. 2025 foundation, flipping upside down, is your protein, your whole foods, which we love. The protein recommendations in the 1992 pyramid, they're like, protein. 2025 framework, they're like, yeah, no, you need to be eating your protein. So that's like a central focus point. Our fats, we know in the old one, they're like, a little bit here and there. 2025, they're like, fats are necessary. Eat your dang fats. Carbs.
Specific fats.
Yes. Our healthy fats, our avocados, our cheeses, our dairies, our seeds, the whole fats.
Because the fats in the 1992 ones were more of a demonized skinny yellow line.
Probably because they were the highly processed like seed oils.
Yeah.
But they're not going to admit
that had like butter and like all that kind of stuff in it as well. And fats were also a part of that little like fats part was also like pastries and cakes and like all that kind of, which like.
When has that ever been recommended? Eat these daily.
No, but like it doesn't really have like, it has like fat in it, but it's more carbs and like sugar than fats. Like that's where the terminology gets so construed.
Yeah, and I think because in the 1992 pyramid, the carbs, they were your primary fuel. Like you have to eat carbs. But now in the new version, they're like, this is pretty context dependent. It depends on where you're at in life, which I love.
Yeah.
We're living in that gray, which is what I've always wanted for everyone. Live in the gray.
Yes. Live in the gray.
Live in the gray. The processing of food, it was like ignored. It was almost pushed in a sense. Now they explicitly say stop eating the processed foods. There's no misunderstanding that. Stop eating processed foods, period.
Yes.
The fortification of like the iron, the calcium, the vitamins, the whatever was highly encouraged in the old 1992 version. And now they kind of like de-emphasized it. But if you're eating less processed foods, you're eating less fortified foods as well. Lastly, kind of talking about the approach with the old food pyramid, it was like the one size fits all, like a 2,000 calorie diet. Like everyone can get those recommendations, but they're going to put down in the little like fine print. It might depend on where you're at in life. But they don't really say that. Where now it's like very individualized. It's very life stage based with their recommendations.
I like it. My main thing that you just didn't touch on as much was the fact that the old pyramid is so broken up into sections that it's ridiculous. And the new pyramid, it's just a jumble of the foods that you should be eating. No sections.
One thing I wanted to emphasize based on, what the new food pyramid is in your grocery stores, it's everything that's on the outside walls. It's not really going into those aisles like we've been preaching on for how long.
I'm so glad it got recognized, at least somewhat on a government level, but I don't think the government is saying, like, they understand to go into the government just a smidge. They understand the circumstance at hand. They understand that we almost have to live this 80-20 lifestyle with how far we've come. They're just really trying to say, when you live in the 80, this is what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I think what the government is finally opening their eyes to, because I think before they were turning a blind eye to how unhealthy our population really is, how
Yes.
disease is flooding all of our medical systems, and how much of a need there is to change that.
Well, it says in the PDF that we'll attach that nearly 90% of healthcare spending goes to treating people who have chronic diseases. Many of these illnesses are not genetic destiny, they are the predictable result of the standard American diet. 90%.
Which is crazy to me, because I could just never see myself not giving a crap. You know, like we've both been in the spot where we're like, wow, I feel like absolute trash. I'm going to change this. And we turn to diet and exercise.
I don't think it's as much of like not giving a crap, I guess you could say. I think it's more the lack of knowledge because a lot of times people, we've spoken about it, they'll look at that old food pyramid and they're like, I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. Do you know what I mean? So I think people care. I don't think that's the problem. I think they just don't know how to care properly.
Mm-hmm. Like it's
And
a
hopefully this
little,
new food pyramid will show them.
yeah. Like it's almost like a misalignment. And I forget what the actual word is for it, when you're like misaligned in what you think you're doing and what you're actually doing.
Because now we've gotten to a point where you have to think this pyramid has been out our entire lives specifically. It's been out for over 30 years. So you eat this way from a child, you don't know how sick you feel until you actually start to feel better. So I don't think people don't care. I think they just don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's like a dissonance, I think is what I was looking for. Like there's
Oh, yes.
a cognitive dissonance of like saying you want to do something and then like actually following through with that. So if your actions aren't aligning with what you say you want, like that's kind of what we're falling into here, is like you say you want to be healthy, you think that you're healthy, but like your actions actually aren't aligning with that. But it's not because you're choosing, it's because you don't know.
You don't know until you know. And hopefully this podcast is shedding knowledge on these issues.
Mm-hmm. Without the shame, because I feel like a lot of people feel like embarrassed or shamed like when they go to professionals for help. Not that
Absolutely,
we're
but that's
professional
not,
podcasters.
I was going to say, there's nothing really professional about us.
I'd say I'm a little
But
more professional because it literally is my business. But if you were to look at my pieces of paper in my home, I would not be considered a professional.
well, yeah. And I just really show up every week, guys.
She's here
No, I'm
for
kidding.
me to have someone to talk to.
No, I'm kidding. I have done so much research into this, and it's so crazy cuz the more research you do, the more you learn, and then you learn 500 things. You're like, "Okay, I know all I need to know now." And then you look back like after 3 months and you're like, "I can't believe all this stuff I know now that I didn't know then." And it just keeps happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think you just have to be constantly learning, and hopefully you guys constantly learn through us.
Yeah. And you're sharing it with other people, because I feel like we break things down in a pretty like digestible way where it's not like all of this high level mumbo jumbo talk. Like we're making up words as we go.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine if someone listened to this and was like, they just talked too sophisticatedly for me to wrap my head around it.
Couldn't be me. If this episode helped you connect the dots between how you were taught to eat and how you feel now, you are not alone and you're not behind. Nutrition advice changed because the science changed, not because you failed to do it right. The takeaway here isn't to follow a new diagram perfectly, it's to take what we know now, which is prioritizing protein, choosing whole foods, and paying attention to how your body actually responds, and using that to support your health in the season you're in. If this conversation helped clarify things for you, share it with a friend who's still stuck trying to follow outdated food rules. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss future episodes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Sis Let's Heal podcast.